Hello aspirants, welcome back to another episode of Current Connect series where we bring you the latest updates and insights relevant for your UPSC Combined Geoscientist Prelims exam. If you have been following us, you know that we have covered significant events for the month of May in our previous episodes, and now let's get ready for our 6th episode where we are diving into the key happenings in the realm of polity and governance for the month of June. So, let's delve into the heart of these matters, analyze their implications, and connect the dots for the clearer understanding, right? So, the first issue involves a topic that shapes our nation's governance infrastructure, that is, the new Parliament House. Recently, the inauguration of the new Parliament House has sparked nationwide interest. So, let's explore why this monumental event is making headlines. The new Parliament House is a part of an ambitious Central Vista Development Plan, which is a grand initiative focused on upgrading our nation's infrastructure. This project encompasses various facets including the Rashtrapati Bhavan, the iconic North-South blocks, and the Parliament House itself. In history, we find that Central Vista dates back to 1931, right? And it boasts these structures like the Parliament House, the Record Office, which is now the National Archives, and the majestic India Gate, and which is flanked by the lush green gardens. The primary aim of this redevelopment project is to boost our governance infrastructure, providing a modern, sustainable home for India's Parliament and a functional secretariat, right? But the question is, why do we need a Parliament House? Well, the present building faces several challenges. The existing structure wasn't designed for a bicameral legislature at the time it was built, and with the number of seats set to increase after the 2026 general census, expansion is essential, right? And the distressed infrastructure, seepages, and compromised aesthetics have taken their toll. Fire safety concerns and outdated communication system also plague the current building. The current Parliament building was built when Delhi was in Seismic Zone 2, and currently it is in Seismic Zone 4. So, structurally, the current Parliament House does not even align with the new seismic zone status, which is a serious safety concern, isn't it? Now that we know why the redevelopment project is an important step, let's take a glimpse into the colonial era present Parliament House. The present building was designed by the British architect Sir Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker. It was originally home to the Imperial Legislative Council, and its unique circular design was inspired by the Chaussat Yogini temple in Monera, Madhya Pradesh. Remember this because question based on the Chaussat Yogini temple has been asked previously in UPSC. And as far as the new building is concerned, the Lok Sabha Hall resonates with the peacock theme, which is also a national bird, and while the Rajya Sabha is adorned with the elegance of the national flower, that is the lotus. And symbolism flourishes within the new Parliament House, with banyan tree, that is our national tree, in the premises, and the Senegal, which symbolizes the transfer of power, taking a place of honor next to the speaker's chair. Asoka pillar was placed on the roof of the Parliament House. Hand-woven carpets from Bhadoi, Uttar Pradesh, which is also known as the Carpet City, have been fitted in the new Parliament House. Additionally, diverse materials are sourced from different states across India, such as wood from Nagpur, marble from Gujarat, stonework from Rajasthan, and bamboo wood from Tripura. The Ashok Chakra, along with the word Satyameva Jayate, adorns the entrance, reminding us of our commitment to the truth. So friends, as you can see, the new Parliament House is more than just a structure. It embodies our heritage, aspirations, and the spirit of the new India, isn't it? And that wraps up our discussion on the new Parliament building, right? Moving on, next topic is about a recent event that has stirred discussion on the constitutional position and role of governors. The issue arises when the Tamil Nadu governor dismissed an MLA unilaterally from the Council of Ministers, right? So let's start by addressing the fundamental question first. Can a governor dismiss a minister? Okay, so the dismissal of a minister is not within the purview of governor's power. According to the Indian Constitution, a governor is obligated to act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of a state. If a governor takes unilateral action to remove a minister, the government has the recourse to approach the courts. Furthermore, a governor can recommend the dismissal of the state government to the president, but the final decision actually rests with the president, right? Article 164 Clause 1 of the Constitution is important here. It addresses the appointment of the Chief Minister and other ministers. While the governor appoints the Chief Minister, the ministerial appointments are made based on the Chief Minister's advice, right? And if that is clear to you, let's delve into the broader role of the governor, because that is what is important from the exam's point of view. The governor serves as the state's chief executive, which is also the union government's representation in the state. In fact, the governor's office serves a dual purpose. It's both a ceremonial head of a state and a representative of the central government in the state. In this context, a crucial moment in the history was the 7th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1956, which streamlined the appointment of a single individual as a governor of multiple states, right? So now let's talk about the extensive powers vested in a governor. Executive powers, legislative powers, judicial powers, financial powers, and discretionary powers together constitute the governor's authority, right? And under the executive powers, the governor acts as a ceremonial head of a state, while the Council of Ministers carries out the executive functions. Governor has the authority to recommend the declaration of a constitutional emergency in the state and has significant executive powers during the president's administration in the state, right? And moving on to the legislative powers, no bill can become a law without the governor's assent or his signature. The governor can also send bills to the president for consideration. In terms of judicial powers, the governor appoints district judges and is consulted in the appointment of high court judges as well. The governor also has the power to pardon, remit, and commute sentences. The governor plays a significant role in financial matters too. Presenting the annual budget in the state legislative assembly and approving money bill are the key financial responsibilities of the governor. And lastly, the governor wields discretionary powers such as choosing a chief minister in case no party has an absolute majority, and acting as the president's agent in emergency, and submitting reports to the on the state's activities to the center, right? And to keep the governor's office apolitical, several recommendations have been made, and we just need to know the names, and details are not required as far as the exam is concerned. So most important of them all are the Sarkaria Commission report, the Punchi Commission, and the Supreme Court judgment in S.R. Bomai versus Union of India, which are related to the office of the governor. So that's all that we need as far as the exam is concerned. Next, around 80 more cards across 6 states are on the brink of being added to the central list of other backward classes, or the OBCs. The National Commission for the Backward Classes, or the NCBC, has been actively working on processing approval for most of these communities. So these communities hail from states like Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, and Haryana. So let's take a closer look at some of the communities that are expected to be included in the central OBC list. In Andhra Pradesh, we have the Turu Kapu community. The Himachal Pradesh brings the Majara community into the spotlight. Maharashtra presents Lodi, Lingayat, Bhoyar Power, and Jhansi communities. Punjab contributes the Yadav community, and the Haryana introduces the Gosai community. Now let's delve into the procedure behind this significant addition. The process involves a meticulous examination by the Commission. Once the decision is reached, the recommendation is forwarded to the Central Cabinet. The NCBC, that is the National Commission for Backward Classes, follows a well-defined procedure as outlined in the NCBC Act of 1993. This procedure mandates the formation of a bench to scrutinize proposals, after which the decision is sent to the Union government for the approval, right? And afterwards, it's in the hand of the cabinet to approve these decisions. Once the legislative process is underway, the president steps in to formally notify the change. And interestingly, the procedure for adding communities to the central OBC list has a distinctive feature. Unlike the process for SC/ST list, this addition does not require any concurrence from the Office of the Registrar General of India or any external authority other than the NCBC. Right? So NCBC is the sole approving authority here. And the NCBC employs a well-defined set of parameters to consider these conditions. And the Mandal Commission, established in 1979, laid out social, educational, and economic indicators that guide the decision-making process. Right? And before we conclude, let's touch upon the essential aspect, the coexistence of the state and the central list. While central OBC list is maintained at the national level, individual states also have their own OBC list. So there are two lists. One is at the central level, and other is on the state level. And each state holds the power to identify and include communities in their state OBC list, aligning with the local consideration as well as the socio-economic factors, isn't it? And that sums up our discussion on the central OBC list. Next up, the Digital Publisher Content Grievance Council has taken a stance invoking the Information Technology Rules 2021 to recommend punitive action against an OTT platform. But before we delve further, let's understand what OTT actually is. OTT, or the over-the-top platforms, are your gateway to entertainment. These platforms provide direct access to movies, TV shows, and more content through internet, which bypasses the traditional cable or satellite system, right? And in India, the number of OTT viewers has reached a staggering 43 million, and experts predict that this figure is set to rise to 50 million by the end of 2023. And the rise of mobile broadcasting is set to fuel a wave of new content creation, and it is actually revolutionizing the way we consume media. Now, let's navigate the regulatory landscape of OTT platforms. In the realm of regulations, OTT platforms are referred to as publishers of online curated content, right? And this includes audio-visual content like the films, web series, podcast, and more. The beauty of it is that you get to choose when and what to watch, all through a digital medium. So, how does India regulate these platforms? Existing laws such as the Information Technology Act of 2000 and the Indian Penal Code 1861 have been extended to cover the content on OTT platforms. But that's not all. The recent Information Technology Rules 2021, framed under the IT Act of 2000, brings a new dimension to the regulation of digital media. These rules give power to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting to regulate content on OTT and online platforms. Under these rules, a comprehensive code of ethics has been introduced for online news, OTT platforms, and digital media entities. Plus, parental logs are being introduced for the content deemed appropriate for certain age groups. And now, India's approach to OTT regulation is actually very intriguing. It's a light touch co-regulation model. So, what is that? In simple terms, the industry regulates itself to a certain extent, while the ministry oversees the process. A 3-level grievance redressal mechanism has been put in place. First, a grievance redressal officer stationed in India will handle the grievances. Second, one or more self-regulatory bodies headed by retired judges or independent individuals will ensure compliance. And lastly, the ministry establishes an interdepartmental committee as an oversight mechanism. But the journey doesn't end here. The proposed Digital India Bill aims to further regulate the content on digital platforms, right? So, you need to keep that in mind. And that's all about the current scenario of OTT regulation in India. Next up, let's understand the recent happenings around the Uniform Civil Code, or the UCC. The Prime Minister's recent statement on the necessity of a Uniform Civil Code has stirred a nationwide debate. He highlighted the challenges posed by having separate laws for separate communities and emphasized the need for a common set of laws. So, what exactly is this Uniform Civil Code? The UCC aims to unify distinct personal laws governing various religious communities. It seeks to create a uniform framework for matters such as marriage, divorce, adoption, and inheritance. Interestingly, Gujarat has taken some proactive steps to implement a Uniform Civil Code, which sparks the nationwide discussions, right? But let's delve into the constitutional context of the UCC, because that is what is important in the context of our exam. Article 44 of our Indian Constitution envisions a Uniform Civil Code as a directive principle reflecting the state's commitment to establish one, right? However, it's important to note that the implementation of UCC respects the autonomy of states in matters governed by the personal laws based on religion and customs. And while Supreme Court acknowledges the necessity of a Uniform Civil Code, it is the Parliament that holds the authority to enact laws for its realization. However, the judiciary's proactive stance also contributes to shaping the discourse surrounding the UCC. Now, let's explore the merits of implementing the Uniform Civil Code. The first, it upholds the principle of equality and secularism, right? And UCC ensures equal right for all citizens, irrespective of their religious beliefs, which promotes inclusivity and fosters the harmonious society, right? And second, it paves the way for gender justice. By ensuring equal right for women in matters such as divorce, inheritance, and adoption, UCC tackles gender inequalities present in personal laws. It also addresses discriminatory practices such as triple talaq and polygamy, which disproportionately affect the women. Third, UCC streamlines the legal system by replacing multiple personal laws with single comprehensive set of laws. This simplifies the legal procedures and makes them more accessible and efficient. And lastly, UCC promotes national integration. By emphasizing a common set of laws applicable to all citizens, regardless of their religious backgrounds, UCC fosters a sense of unity and minimizes divisions, isn't it? And if that is clear to you, now let's look at the other side of it and explore some of the concerns and challenges associated with a uniform civil code. First, there is a threat to cultural diversity. The opponents argue that UCC might undermine the rich cultural and religious diversity of India by imposing a standardized approach, right? And second, resistance from religious communities is a significant concern. Religious groups worry that UCC might encroach upon their religious freedom and practices as personal laws form an integral part of their identity, right? And lastly, implementing a uniform civil code poses its own set of challenges. And critics highlight the complexities of adopting a single code across India's diverse landscape where customs and traditions vary widely. So as you can see, the topic of a uniform civil code sparks dynamic discussions, weighing pros, cons, and concerns. Questions on UCC has been asked previously in prelims, and hence it is important for the exam point of view, right? In the next issue, we will discuss the State Election Commission and its crucial role in the democratic process. Let's start with recent tussle that has unfolded in West Bengal involving the State Election Commission. West Bengal Governor C.V. Ananda Bose has held that the State Election Commission accountable for the ongoing violence during the Panchayat poll process in the state. This has sparked a recent conflict between the West Bengal Chief Minister and the Governor. Now, let's dive deeper into what State Election Commission or the SECs are all about. In essence, the SEC is responsible for conducting local body elections fairly and impartially within a state, isn't it? So, who appoints the State Election Commissioners? They are appointed by the Governor. Article 243K, Clause 1 plays a crucial role in defining the powers of the State Election Commission. It grants the SEC the superintendence, direction and control over the preparation of electoral rolls and conduct of elections to panchayats and municipalities. Now, what about the tenure of State Election Commissioners? The Article 243K, Clause 2 states that the tenure and appointment of the State Election Commissioners are directed by the law made by the legislature. So, they are appointed by the governor for a fixed tenure of 5 years. And another critical aspect is that removal of the State Election Commissioners. The SECs hold the status, salary and allowance of a High Court judge. So, they can only be removed from the office in a manner similar to that of a judge of a High Court. So, there you have it, a glimpse of State Election Commissions and their pivotal role in shaping our democratic process at the grassroots level or at the panchayat level. The next issue is about the Nyaya Vikash portal initiative by the Ministry of Law and Justice. The Nyaya Vikash portal has been strategically developed to monitor the implementation of centrally sponsored schemes, which are also known as the CSS. But what is the objective behind this portal? The primary goal is to track and oversee the progress of centrally sponsored schemes focused on the development of infrastructure facilities for districts and subordinate judiciaries. When it comes to the funding distribution, the rules are clear. Northeastern and Himalayan states follow a 90-10 ratio. 90% funding will come from the center, 10% from the states. Union territories receive 100% funding, while the remaining states operate on a 60-40 ratio, that is 60% from the center and 40% from the states. And the Nyaya Vikash portal serves as a digital hub where stakeholders can closely monitor the progress of these schemes. From construction of court halls to residential units for judicial officers and judges of the districts, this portal ensures transparency and accountability. by centralizing data and streamlining the information, the Nyaya Vikash portal actually playing a crucial role in enhancing the efficiency of these initiatives, right? So that brings us to the end of the discussion on polity and governance for the month of May. And now let's solve certain MCQs and previous year questions to assess ourselves. The first question says, the Senegal has been installed in a dedicated enclosure to the right of the speaker's chair in the Lok Sabha chamber. Senegal is a symbol of the rule in which empire of the past, right? So the Senegal was used as a royal emblem by the Chola dynasty, which was an ancient and powerful empire in the South India. It was representation of authority and sovereignty during the Chola rule and was used as a symbol of transfer of power when Britishers transferred power to India, right? So the right answer will be A, B, the Chola Empire. The next, then there are two. The next question is on the Chaussat Yogini temple. With reference to the Chaussat Yogini temple situated near Morena, consider the following statements. It is a circular temple built during the reign of Kachapagata dynasty. It is the only circular temple built in India. It was made to promote Vaishnava cult in the region. Its design has given rise to the popular belief that it was the inspiration behind the Indian Parliament building, right? So the right answer will be the C, 1 and 4, because it is not the only circular temple built in India, and as we discussed, the design of the parliament building has been inspired from the Chaussat Yogini situated at Morena, Madhya Pradesh. So C, 1 and 4 are the right statements. You can see the circular diagram of the Chaussat Yogini temple, which is also which inspired the construction of the parliament building, right? Next up, there are two questions from the previous year questions from the UPSC Combined Geoscientist Prelims exam. And the first question says, which of the following is or are the financial powers of the governor? A money bill can be introduced in the Legislative Assembly only on the recommendation of the governor. No demand for grant can be made without the recommendation of the governor. The supplementary, additional or excess grants are laid down with the recommendation of the governor. We have to choose the correct code. So, all of these are the financial powers of the governor, because a money bill can be introduced in the Legislative Assembly only after the recommendation of the governor. This is because money bill is a bill that deals with the financial matters such as taxation and expenditure, and governor is the head of the state and has the responsibility of overseeing the state's finances. So, he or she must therefore be consulted before any bill that deals with the financial matter can be introduced in the legislature. And also for that reason, there is no demand for grant that can be made without the recommendation of the governor. So statement 2 is also correct, and the supplementary, additional or excess grants are laid down with the recommendation of the governor as well. So C, 1, 2, 3 all are correct. The next question says, which one of the following is not the ordinance making power of the governor? Governor shall have this power only when legislature or both houses thereof are not in session. The scope of ordinance making power is co-extensive with the legislative powers of the state legislature. The governor himself or herself shall not be competent to withdraw the ordinance at any time. It is not a discretionary power but must be exercised with the aid and advice of the minister. Okay, so the right answer to the question is C. The governor himself or herself shall not be competent to withdraw the ordinance at any time. The other options are all correct statements about the ordinance making power of the governor. The governor can only make ordinances when the legislature is not in session, and the scope of the ordinance making power is co-extensive with the legislative powers of the state legislature, and the ordinance must be exercised with the aid and advice of the ministers. However, the governor himself or herself cannot withdraw an ordinance at any time. The ordinance can only be withdrawn by the legislature or by the governor with the consent of the legislature. So this is because the ordinance is a substitute for the legislation and the governor cannot unilaterally revoke it, right? And the next question is on UCC. It was asked in 2020 prelims of the Combined Geoscientist exam. The question says, which one of the following article of the Constitution of India deals with the Uniform Civil Code? So The answer will be A. Article 44 of DPSP, or the Directive Principle of State Policy, talks about the state's responsibility to introduce an UCC. And then last question is on National Commission on Backward Classes, which was asked in UPSC Civil Services 2023 prelims. Consider the following organizations or bodies in India. From the options that are mentioned in the question, only NCBC, or the National Commission for Backward Classes, is the constitutional body created by 102nd Amendment Act of 2018, which makes it a constitutional body under Article 338B, right? And rest of the other options are the statutory bodies, which are made under different laws by the Parliament, right? So with that, another insightful episode of the Current Connect series comes to an end. And today we delved into some crucial updates and developments that are shaping various aspects of our nation, from governance and law to technology and regulation. We covered a spectrum of topics, from the push for a uniform civil code to the vital role of state election commissions, Nyaya Vikash portal's contribution to justice infrastructure, and evolving landscape of OTT regulations in India. Thank you for being a part of the Current Connect series. Stay tuned for more episodes where we will continue to bring you the latest updates and insights that matter. Until then, stay updated, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.